All right, thanks for tuning in to this special episode of the Maritime Gardening Podcast. Season 1 is actually in the books. However, Greg and I were talking, and we just figured there's some very seasonal topics that we don't want to miss over the fall and winter months, so we may do this from time to time. Are you there, Greg?
Yeah, I'm sitting beside a roaring fire in the wood stove.
Nice. A little different than the last time that we were recording, where you didn't have a fire.
That's right. Now it is the age of fire.
It is. So we'll talk about a few things to start. We appreciate everybody tuning into episodes through season 1. The feedback has been great. If you haven't given us any feedback, we'd love to hear from you. And in fact, recently we set up a survey, our first online survey, which is going quite well. And if you want to take part in that, it's short, secure. It uses a Google form. Just go to maritimegardening.com/survey1. That's survey and the number 1. And we'll put a link to that in the show notes for this particular special episode. So we're calling this episode 24 just to kind of keep it flowing, because once we hit season 2 in the spring, we're going to start over in that season. But yeah, so what are you going to talk about today, Greg?
Well, the other day I was using some leaves in the backyard. This time of year, you're driving down the street anywhere where there's a collection, and people put these cardboard bags of leaves out all the time. And I always throw a few in my truck, and they're useful in a lot of different ways. So I thought I'd talk about some of those uses, because this is when they're around, and talk about different kinds and different ways to use them. And there's probably a lot I don't know about that. I just started using these, and actually, no, I've been using leaves, for over a decade. But it's one of those things where when you're using a medium of some kind, you evolve in your use of it, and you start to learn. Just like, I think in Nova Scotia we have lots of different terms for rain. Like, my wife's from Ontario, so before she moved here, she didn't know there was such a thing as fog rain or sun rain or snow rain or rain, snow, or rain, ice rain.
Yeah.
All these different kinds of, kind of fog, ice, rain, all these different things that we have here. Yeah. And same with leaves. You think leaves are leaves, but there's different grades. And I'm sure people in the city might think I'm weird. I was driving back from the university the other day, all, sort of looking kind of professorial, and I pulled over and I was walking up and down the street, looking in the bags of everyone's leaves on the fairly high-end street in the south end of Halifax, looking for just the right, it's nice.
Get out of my driveway!
Certain kind of leaves.
Yeah.
Exactly. Don't take my leaves. Certain kind of leaves are better than others, and I was sort of sifting through, and I saw some lady looking out her window at me like I was really weird.
Hobo, get out of the way!
Especially when I backed my truck up and took all her leaves.
Yeah.
And actually, it's a good time of year for a lot of things like that. Halloween, everybody, I don't know why, but people decorate their front lawns and they buy big bales of hay. They spend like $20 on a bale of hay, and then they throw it out in their compost. So
Greg picks it up.
That goes I got one in the back of my truck right now.
Oh, do you?
I almost threw my back out because I was trying to pick it up with it. I was like dressed, for a lecture, so I didn't want to get hay all over my clothes. I was on the way to the university.
Nothing like the South End for picking up good leaves.
Oh, that's right. Well, they probably have the best trash too. They have the best stuff there. Throw away the best stuff.
That's funny.
Anyway, not only that, but the bags are useful. So we're going to talk about that.
Okay, cool. So yeah, we're in. This time of year, it's getting into late November when we're recording this. This will be applicable, right until we get heavy snow?
That's right until everything freezes up. So, it's probably much more applicable about 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Yeah, right.
But anyway.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's okay.
It's topical anyway. You can still get out there and do that. I mean, it's still reasonably warm. And the sort of stuff I'm talking about today, this is the sort of stuff I do right up until the holiday season. I mean, really, as long as it's, not freezing cold out. So as long as the soil can be worked, and I've got a spare minute, and I want to get outside and get some fresh air and some exercise, I'll get out in my garden, and there's something to do. So I keep
Nice.
gardening right up until Christmas, personally.
Excellent. Excellent.
Then I stop. January, February, March.
You're not out there.
Sometimes in March I actually go out and prune a bit. I use my pruners and work on bushes and trees and things like that. If the first day we have in March that doesn't feel like winter.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing I like more than getting outside on that day, sun, and pruning the apple trees and the blueberry bushes and stuff like that. But that's another episode.
Nice.
It's another season.
And on that topic, I guess it's suiting right now is we've decided, or I should say Greg's decided, that we're going to do some video segments. We're not going to turn the show to video, at least no plans to do that right now. But we're going to do some video segments. They're not going to be real long bits, but from time to time, we'll announce when there's something up on our YouTube channel, and you can go have a look there. And we've already recorded some that I think have turned out quite well, and we'll be releasing those. So, yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, just some things. I mean, it's great to hear people talk about this stuff, but it also it can be useful to see things being done. And that's the things I've decided to do the YouTube videos on are things that I would want to see somebody doing.
Right, exactly.
Show me what that looks like.
Yes.
Exactly what are you doing? Exactly how do you place that, or how you do that sort of thing. So that's what I've done. And I think that'll allow us too, as this next season rolls on, I can sort of periodically do a little garden tour type thing. I'll try to keep that. I tried to do one with this little series we're doing, but it took a long time. I kept talking about things in my garden and not just push. It should have taken 5 minutes, and I think I talked for half an hour. It didn't work out.
Well, that's how it goes. That's okay. We'll see what we can do with it.
Really hard to get me to shut up once I get going.
That's what I'm here for.
Exactly. That's why I pay you the big bucks.
Yes. That's why I make the big bucks. Yeah. I guess let her rip with regards to the leaves.
No further ado, yeah. So as I mentioned, this time of year, you're driving down the street, and especially recently, I don't know about other municipalities in other parts of the Maritimes or other parts of the world, but recently here where I live, near Halifax, they made a rule that when you're putting out yard waste, it has to be in these big brown paper bags. It used to be people would put them in plastic bags. And I found that really annoying because I'd go gather up people's leaves to put in my garden, and then I'd have, 40 dirty garbage bags.
Yeah.
Which I'd have to throw away, and my neighbors would be looking at me like I was some sort of pollution guy.
Yeah.
Generating all these plastic bags, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, now it's paper, so at least, it's biodegradable. But also that's great because that paper is useful for a number of things as well. So it's two resources you're getting that people are throwing away.
Yeah.
So, and I guess further to that, my advice to anyone, unless they've got a ridiculous amount of leaves on their lawn, is just if you've got a mulching blade in your lawnmower, just mow those leaves in. Like, don't rake the leaves up, and unless they're going to smother your grass. I would, spread the leaves out all over your lawn. I don't have that problem. For whatever reason, my whole property is surrounded in trees, but I don't have any leaves on my grass at all.
Right.
I don't understand it because I've got maple trees and birch trees and trees with leaves, but all the leaves seem to go somewhere else.
Oh, yeah.
Like my lawn is completely grass green right now, and there's no leaves anywhere. So I don't really understand that. But anyway, when I did have a property with leaves, I just mow them in. I wouldn't rake anything. I just put the mulching blade on and just go. And the leaves are full of all kinds of, I've read somewhere that leaves have many of the same constituents as manure, like a very, very weak manure. There's a lot in a leaf. Oh, yeah. A lot of minerals in leaves, even nitrogen to some extent. So it's a good all-around sort of soil builder. So this time of year, you just mow it in, and it'll all sort of take care of itself over the winter months. But that said, I'm glad that people don't do that and they put them out on the side of the road because I can use them. The listeners, you don't have to do that. You should just, use your own leaves and use them to improve the soil quality of your lawn. But you can also use them in other ways. So number one, you can use leaves as a mulch, right?
Yeah.
Now, I guess I should back up and talk about something I alluded to earlier, looking for the good ones as opposed to the bad ones. So I tend to prefer when I'm getting leaves from people's, this is how I scavenge through people's trash. My pointers on how to scavenge from other people's
Mm-hmm.
put on the curb. But I find that the leaves that are smaller are better. So like big maple leaves, not necessarily the best. If you throw those on the ground, they tend to pick up the wind and they blow around.
Mm-hmm.
And they also tend to smother things out a little bit better, and they don't break down as quickly. They clump up in weird sort of ways, almost like piles of paper or something like that. So I prefer, if you can find them, bagged leaf. And sometimes you can just tell by looking at the trees that are on somebody's lawn. If you're in an area all the time, sort of, stake out,
Yeah.
just like a criminal.
Yeah.
Stake out the different houses in your neighborhood and look at what kind of trees they have when the leaves are actually on the trees, and look for the really sort of the small leaf trees, because those make a better mulch in a lot of ways. They break down faster and they're
Right.
easier for your garlic to push up through and that sort of stuff. But on top of that, sometimes if you're really lucky, some of these homeowners, they don't rake their leaves. They run over it with their lawnmower with the bag on.
Yep.
And so that's in pre-processed.
They
That's the
mulch it
best.
for you.
That's the best. That's what you want. So if you see that, you mark that address down and keep coming back to them every year. There used to be a guy down the road here that did that every year. He had just the best stuff, but I didn't notice him putting anything out this year. Must have sold the house or something. So further to that, so if you can't get that great stuff, when you bring it home, just empty it out on your lawn and run over with your lawnmower with the bag on, and you mow it all up, right?
Yeah.
So you can pre-process it. And furthermore, if you're going to do that, you can put other things in with it, right? If you've got some, fine sticks and twigs or some seaweed or something else that is going to add to the quality of that mulch, you just throw it all out on your lawn and run over it with your lawnmower with the bag on, and the lawnmower will just mix it all up like a blender and make these beautiful mulches for you, right? And then you can apply that to your garden. Now, having said that, and I've learned this from experience, and this might not be everyone's experience. I think it depends on a lot of different factors, but I have found that, a leaf mulch in a garden has a tendency to harbor slugs.
Okay.
So, if you're going to put it on a garden, put it on a crop that slugs don't tend to get at too much. So, like I use it on potatoes because they don't seem to bother the greens too much.
Right.
Onion, if you're going to be growing onions somewhere, the slugs, they might take a bite or two out of an onion green, but they don't go much further than that. They don't like it.
Right.
But yeah, I wouldn't be putting, leaf mulch in a where I was going to be planting greens. No way, Jose, or beans.
Right.
Slugs love being young. Once your beans are mature, it's different. But when your beans are young, slugs will eat them right down to the ground. So you got to be judicious with that. Now another way around that, and this is something I do, is and I alluded to this in one of the episodes on compost, where in my yard I can't put table scraps, kitchen scraps. I can't compost that stuff where I live because I've got black bears and stuff. So I have these big compost stations in the backyard. Each one of them is about a cubic yard. There's I think 3 or 4 of them, and they're all adjacent to one another.
Right.
I put layers of leaves and other things in those. I load them right up every year.
Okay.
And I just let that break down. So I load it this time of year. I take everything out of there and I spread it over my garden, and I load them all back up. I'm actually, after we record this, I'm going to go out in the backyard and do that very thing.
Oh yeah.
So and I find that when you do it that way, they're not quite as sluggy because that huge mass of composting materials heated up, and there might be some slugs in it, but it just seems to be different after it's sat for a year. So I'm going to fill. Yesterday I did one, so I took one of these cubic yard things and And this one, because I've lost my axe, I used to have someone down the road that I got manure from, and now they're not sort of generating manure anymore. So I put layers of seaweed, because I just drove down to the beach here and got a pile of seaweed off the shore. So I put layers of seaweed. I put like 4 inches of leaves, 4 inches of seaweed, 4 inches of leaves, 4 inches of seaweed. And this is my first time trying this. From what I've read, the seaweed will break down fairly quickly. And I don't know what that means this time of year because it's so cold outside. I mean, I've got a whole year. I'm not going to be digging this up until next November. Right. So it's got a whole year to break down. But hopefully, I know that. So last year when I made this, I had alternating layers of leaves and horse manure, and pretty raw horse manure, like pretty, it wasn't well composted horse manure. It was almost practically straight out of the horse. I practically backed the horse up to the stall, and it broke down really well. I mean, compared to what it looked like last year, I'm digging that stuff out now, and it's that most of the leaves broke down to nothing. You can still tell it was leaves, but most of them have just turned into like a fine soil. So it worked really well. So we'll see. This is an experiment using seaweed. We'll see, if there's enough activity in the seaweed, enough heat, enough of all that good stuff to make the leaves break down. And if it doesn't, I'll just leave it another year. It's not. I don't believe in turning over like a lot of the stuff you read online where they're taking their compost and turning it over and turning it over and turning it over. I find it's so much easier just to have a number of compost stations and just let time take care of it. And by the way, when you keep turning it over like that, I mean, compost needs heat to break down. If you're perpetually turning your compost over, every time you turn it over, you're releasing all the heat in the mass. So it has to build that heat up again in order to start, the activity that breaks it down. So it's better to just have many different layers, and the layers should have materials that. I mean, the only reason you turn compost over is to aerate it. And if you've layered your compost properly in a pile and layered it in a way that it's naturally aerated, there's different materials in there that just make air pockets. Like horse manure is great because you get all these sort of horse manure balls, and they've got a degree of structure, so there's always air there. And even the seaweed, I mean, if you've got 4 inches of seaweed, it's really not, it's mostly 4 inches of water and air, and very little of that's actually stuff. It's all going to break down. It's all food for microorganisms, so it'll break down. So I'm hoping there'll be enough air, and you got to play with the different ratios and so on, but we'll see. All right, so that's another thing. If you want to use the leaves as a general mulch, then I would recommend letting it break down and turn into like some form of compost or leaf mold over an entire year, and it'll just be of a different structure. It won't harbor slugs to the same extent. Slugs love piles of leaves because they can go under the leaves and hide. Right. But if you've broken those leaves down to something more compost-like, it's not that ideal environment. It's not as ideal an environment for them because it's not leaves anymore. It's more soil-like. It's sort of, there's still bits of leaves there, but they're really well broken down. And especially when you consider that I take that composted leaves and I spread it out in November, and it just sits there all winter long, right? So it's even more broken down by April, May, right? Because it's been sitting and exposed to the elements all winter long, right? So it's all ready to go.
Interesting.
So yeah, another thing you can do with all these leaves, and I think one of the YouTube videos is on this, is where if you've got some sort of invasive plant that you don't like I've got some goutweed on my property that I got from just planting some rhubarb in a certain area that I got from a friend, and the rhubarb had goutweed in it, and I didn't notice it right off the bat. And for those of you who don't know anything about goutweed, it's just the worst kind of plant. You can eat it, I guess. I tried eating it once There's a funny story connected to that. But anyway, I tried eating it just as it's got a sort of celery, parsley-like taste, but it's nothing special. You might add it as a garnish. You wouldn't want to live off of it.
Mm.
So, um, but really, you don't want to keep it around because it's invasive and the rhizomes travel and travel and travel. And especially if you're like me, if you've got a lot of wood chip type pathways around your property, goutweed loves that sort of environment. It can travel really, really well through that mulched type surface. So, for that stuff, if that were to reach my actual garden where the vegetables are, that would be devastating.
Right.
I don't know what I'd do.
Yeah.
So, all I did was I just dug up the area surrounding it, because it borders on different things. And I put down the paper from those paper leaf bags, because that stuff's really tough. It takes in this climate, zone 5, it takes a couple of years for that stuff to break down. So I don't know what's on those bags, if it's sprayed with wax or plastic. I don't know what. They are biodegradable, but they don't break down fast. They might take it. And I know they don't break down in a season because I've put them underneath some of my walkways to kill off the weeds underneath the walkways where I put mulches down, and they're still there after a year. So that's, to me, something perfect for smothering out an invasive weed.
Right.
So you just put the bags down, and then you just throw all the leaves on top to weight the bags down. And, that'll keep all the light and the air and everything out. And, have a look at it next spring. And if you see the weed coming back, just do it again. Next spring, people are going to be putting those bags out too. Because people that didn't rake their leaves in the fall will rake them in the spring.
Yeah.
So you give it another hit. But you keep doing that to some weed, it's just not, you're depriving it of everything it needs. So even a tough weed's going to give up eventually.
Right.
I don't know how well that would work for knotweed, because knotweed's pretty invincible. But certainly something that can't punch through that. I've had pretty good results with that.
Interesting.
Furthermore, if you're going to claim a new bed or something like that, it's the same sort of thing, right? You can use that heavy cardboard stuff, that paper, to, like, if you had an area of your lawn you wanted to put down a new garden bed, right? You just put that paper over the grass and then fill it up with soil or horse manure or whatever. And even for that matter, this time of year, if you've got a bag of leaves, I don't practice. I practice no-till gardening. But if you have a tiller, you can till a bunch of leaves into a garden. As long as there's reasonable green in there, it'll really add to the soil. Not too much, you don't want to pull the nitrogen out of your soil, but if you've got leaves that, tilling a bit of leaves in, tilling a few inches, 2 or 3 inches of leaves into your garden bed isn't going to hurt it at all. It'll add, almost like adding a peat moss, right? It'll loosen up. But you do it in the fall, do it in the spring, do it in the fall, let it sit like that. A lot of things you can do this time of year in the fall.
Cool.
Such as, also final warning for people that were listening all year: if you didn't plant your garlic, right? I said between Canadian and American Thanksgiving. Well, it's Black Friday today, so
get to it.
Don't go shopping. Unless you're going to go to a place where you can buy garlic, because you should get that garlic in the ground.
Right.
It's just like we're getting towards the end of when you can plant tulips, and it's the same thing.
Right.
By the way, great time of year to plant tulips. I was at a grocery store yesterday, and I got 25 tulips for $2.99. So I bought 50. I went out and planted 50 tulips yesterday.
You big spender.
That's exactly. That's me. Well, I'm sure they were 2 or 3 times that price. In September, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know how. Maybe they're not all viable, but for that kind of price, there's right.
Yeah.
Exactly. But that's a surprise for my wife. I'll have to gamble she doesn't hear this episode.
Yes. She hears you all day long. She doesn't want to hear it.
Exactly.
So, all right. Well, I think that you've picked off all the little key points we had written down. Was there anything else you wanted to end on?
No, I think that's everything I wanted to.
Excellent.
And also, like I said, the YouTube video, one of them I'm going to show me actually dealing with that bed. I think we got another one where I'm going to show me planting some garlic, and another one where all fall gardening sort of stuff, right? Another one where I'm just preparing a bed. I've been taking a bed that's sort of done. I think it had some beets in it or something like that. Anyway, I got rid of all those, and I add some manure to the soil, and just get it all ready for next year. So next spring I don't have to do anything other than planting it, right? That's the way
Nice.
this time of year, that's what you should, in my opinion, get your soil ready now, and
Yeah.
so don't have to do it next spring.
Yeah, be ready.
Next spring you can just be walking through the garden store buying seeds and dreaming about how awesome your garden's going to be.
Cool.